The first cases of human-to-human transmission of coronavirus have been confirmed inside Australia. Both are in New South Wales. A 53-year-old health worker and a 41-year-old woman whose brother has the disease have both tested positive to COVID-19.
It's the turning point authorities feared, the first human-to-human transmission of coronavirus in Australia. A 41-year-old Sydney woman is thought to have contracted the virus from her brother, who was diagnosed after visiting Iran.
So it would appear that there's at least a high likelihood of transmission here in New South Wales.
A 53-year-old health worker in Western Sydney, who had contact with patients, has also been diagnosed.
He has not travelled for at least 3 months. So that would indicate a second case that is highly likely of transmission on New South Wales soil.
Retired travel agent James Kwan yesterday became the first Australian to die from coronavirus.
I think there were a range of things that could be done to support him, but unfortunately his lungs in particular could not cope.
The 78-year-old died in a Perth hospital after being evacuated from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, where a third of Australia's virus cases have originated.
He was a warm-hearted, jovial, hard-working person that would share anything that he learnt with anybody around him.
Of the more recent cases being treated in Australia, a number travelled from Iran. They spent time in the community before developing symptoms, prompting a directive to travellers from 2 other virus hotspots, Italy and South Korea, to stay home for 14 days if they work in health or aged care.
That's an additional level of protection which has been advised by the Chief Health and Medical Officers.
But the government stopped short of a full travel ban.
The proportionality of putting in a travel ban wasn't justified.
But there's concern about contact tracing. Victoria still hasn't received a full passenger list for a flight from Iran last week, carrying a woman later diagnosed with the virus.
I would obviously like passenger manifest to be available instantaneously.
With travel advice being reviewed, all international passengers arriving in Australia are being given information about how to seek help if they develop symptoms. Across the country, supermarkets have reported selling out of some items, but authorities say stockpiling isn't necessary. Chief Health and Medical Officers will continue to meet daily to monitor the situation. Emily Peace, ABC News.
More than 60 countries have now been hit by the coronavirus. Iran remains a primary concern. More than 50 people have died there and almost 1,000 have been infected. In Italy, the number of cases has soared 50% in just 24 hours. And the world's most visited museum has closed in Paris. Staff refused to open the Louvre because they were worried about a potential outbreak. In South Korea, another 200 people have been infected, and Indonesia has now reported its first 2 cases. The death toll in mainland China now stands at around 3,000. But the fatality rate in Iran is almost double that of China, and many countries are worried that it's not doing enough to contain the virus. Middle East correspondent Eric Twarchek reports.
Distressing images of people collapsing in the streets of Iran are emerging on social media. Anxiety is increasing as the number of infections goes up and up. But the World Health Organization is concerned Iran could still be underreporting cases. The government is now admitting the outbreak is much worse than previously thought.
Most of the coronavirus cases have gone to health centres in recent days, and suspicious cases have been hospitalised.
Hospitals are overwhelmed. The Health Ministry has ordered that only infected people and patients who need immediate care will be admitted.
We will defeat the coronavirus, don't worry.
A mob in the coastal city of Bandar Abbas set fire to a medical clinic after hearing a rumour that coronavirus patients were being treated there. But the government is trying to prevent panic and is refusing to shut down holy sites at the epicentre of Iran's outbreak. This man is one of several who've posted videos of themselves licking a famous shrine to prove it's safe. Authorities around the world are scrambling to increase their travel restrictions as cases in neighbouring countries and even as far away as Canada and Australia have been traced to Iran. From tomorrow, Iran's government will put together approximately 300,000 teams for door-to-door coronavirus screening. Eric Twarchek, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Fears over the spread of coronavirus continue to take their toll on the economy and the markets. After shedding another $60 billion in value this morning, the Australian share market pared its losses to finish down less than 1%. It's the 7th straight day of falls. Miners are being hurt because of their links to China, and the banks also dipped. The Reserve Bank is widely expected to cut interest rates tomorrow in an attempt to prop up the economy. Finance correspondent Philip Lasker reports.
A deserted Chinese restaurant, an increasingly familiar sight on the front line of the economic upheaval. Its owner, Andrew Bao, depends on a mix of Chinese university students and locals.
Most of students were stuck in China now. They can't come back. So the whole business is cut off 50% roughly.
Major companies in the resources, biotech, travel and property sectors like Qantas, BlueScope, Cochlear and Fortescue have cut over $500 million from profit expectations so far. Since last month's peak, the Broad All Ordinaries Index has dived 11%. That brings the losses to a staggering $300 billion in less than 2 weeks.
Obviously, when share markets come down, it has a negative wealth effect. People feel their superannuation go down, their wealth in the share market goes down, and that has a flow on to consumer spending.
We've got to be aware of the irrationality of the fear around coronavirus. It's probably doing a lot more damage to the economy.
The massive upheaval hasn't stopped people buying houses. House prices jumped more than 1% in February and over 7% in a year. So how will that play out here at the Reserve Bank, which meets to consider interest rates tomorrow? It's likely the coronavirus will do more damage to the economy than an overheated housing market. But the RBA has only 2 cuts left before it's forced to consider unconventional measures like quantitative easing. Remarkably, some banks are forecasting it will use those 2 cuts in quick succession, starting tomorrow.
I think they should cut rates. Very simple. The economy is doing very poorly.
Andrew Bao can't hold out much longer.
If it's a situation, it's a continue for another half a year, probably they'll have to close down.
He won't be the only one. Philip Lasker, ABC News.